and welcome. It's Training Tuesday time, and we are here. So, I do not have my normal colorful background today because I am not in my normal colorful location. Um, Traveling today, and I am in somewhere in scenic Connecticut, and I'm in a residence inn, I think. It's a Marriott of some kind. They all look the same. And I'm okay with that, actually, with all the Marriotts looking the same. There's something comfortable about that. As you guys know, I occasionally do these from hotel rooms and things. I do travel a lot. And I'm here for a couple of days, actually, of meetings. And I was thinking about this because one of the things I always look for when I'm pulling into the area of the hotel, whatever hotel I'm staying at, I always look for a Starbucks. And I do this even when I am traveling in foreign countries, which sounds a little wrong, I guess. For someone like me, as much as I love to travel, and the whole point, I feel like, I don't know, 75% of the point of travel is to go try new foods and try their local coffee and explore that whole local culture. That's really what travel is all about. But I will still go look for a Starbucks. And certainly, if I'm traveling in North America, anywhere in North America, I'm looking for a Starbucks. There's just something comfortable about that, right? One of the reasons that when you do travel a lot for work, right, you rack up points. What do? You rack up points at your favorite hotels, right? So some of you are Marriott people, some of you are Hilton people, some of you might be another chain. I happen to have both. I happen to have points with both. And so typically when I travel, I look to stay at a Hilton or a Marriott because I have reward points with them and some level of status with them, and because their hotel rooms all look the same. So there's a level of familiarity. And it's the same thing when I'm looking for a Starbucks. There's something about that daily morning Starbucks that's just a comfortable habit, right? It's a pattern. It feels comfortable. It's reassuring. If everything else in my day is going to be different or go haywire, at least I got my Starbucks. So it's a habit. It's a habit. Even in foreign countries, maybe I don't go every day, but if I see a Starbucks, you can bet I'm going to nip in and find myself a very familiar tasting cup of coffee just to tether myself or reground myself with what's familiar and home. It's a habit. It's a habit. And habits are what we're going to talk about tonight. So tonight, my goal is to talk about 5 patterns that we fall into. 5 habits, 5 patterns, thought processes that we often fall into without even realizing we're there. And they create a reaction in us that impacts then how we show up at work, how we show up as leaders, what we do. And I want to raise the awareness today of those patterns because they're critical, they're incredibly common. We all fall into these patterns at different times. Some of us fall into certain ones more often than others. But if we don't have the awareness that this is where our head is going, this is where our energy is going, if we don't have that in the moment, then we continue to reinforce essentially bad habits, ways of responding or reacting that aren't actually serving us in moving our careers forward and upward. And that is the whole point of being in this group, right? We talk about accelerating our careers. How do we move forward and upward as fast as possible? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And hello, Jill. It's good to see you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Natalie Hahn. I am your lead coach and CEO of Dirty Girls Consulting. So welcome to Training Tuesday. As always, say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Ask questions as I go along. Make comments. Tell your stories. I love the communication that happens. And if you're watching this in replay, as a lot of you do, still say hi and make comments and tell your stories. We do see the comments afterwards. I do check them regularly. So would love to hear from you. All right, so we're going to get tonight into the 5 habits or patterns. You can think of them as patterns that we fall into a lot of the times unconsciously that can hold us back from really being extraordinary in our role, in our life, kind of in every aspect, but really stop us from being extraordinary because they are such common, ordinary patterns. And the key, and I'm not going to go through a whole bunch of tips on these 5 things about how to break these habits, because one, if you've been here before, and I can see Joyce is here and Sue is here, so they've heard me talk about this stuff. The key to breaking any bad pattern or negative pattern or any bad habit or any behavior that you want to shift or any thought process you want to shift, the key to it is awareness. So your homework for tonight is to practice awareness, period. That's really pay attention, because once you're paying attention, then you can make a different choice. So I'm going to dive into the 5 patterns that we fall into, the 5 habits that we unconsciously, our mind goes, our energy goes when something happens, that can really derail us from being powerful and extraordinary leaders. All right, so pattern number 1, playing the victim. So the truth is, and we know this, we all know this because we've all experienced this, life is not fair. Life is not fair. Terrible things happen. Unfortunate things happen, and sometimes they all happen in one week, and it's not fair. And we have that, oh, I can't believe this happened to me. Oh, not again. And when we sink into that feeling because we've made a mistake, because someone else has made a mistake, because something horrible just happened that no one had control over, when we sink into that place of, oh no, what do? Well, the first thing we do is we want to hide, right? We want to just bury ourselves under a blanket, grab a pint of ice cream, turn on Netflix, and pretend the world doesn't exist. We avoid, we don't want to engage because it's just too scary, it's too nasty, it's too uncomfortable. So we don't. When we fall into this victim mindset of, oh, poor me, oh, I can't believe this happened, oh, again, when we fall into that and we stay there, we are sinking into victimhood. We are holding on to an energy that will suck the life out of you. When your mental and emotional energy is in this place of being a victim, it completely drains your physical energy too. It impacts you in all ways. And when that happens, there's no movement. When we are mired in victimhood, there's no movement. We're too busy avoiding. We do not want to deal with things. We do not, somebody else needs to deal with this. I can't. I'm going to go hide over here. I'm not talking to this person. I'm not making a decision just if I just want it to go away. When we're in that mode, there's no forward movement, which means nothing is happening. There's no leadership happening. And it can feel really good to be in that place. And sometimes we need it. Sometimes we absolutely need to be there because that's where we can kind of sit and regroup and regain some strength, regain some grounding and focus. But if we stay there, if we continue to let the world and the swirl control, then we're stuck. We're stuck. We're in self-pity. We're in denial. We might even be feeling guilty, but we're not making choices at this point. We are not moving forward. So this is when it becomes really important to pull yourself up, take accountability for what you can, and move on. Just figure out what the very next step can be for you to move on. So that's 1, victimhood. 2, second pattern we fall into. This one comes up at interesting times, but this one does come up. We take things personally. We get offended. And what we're actually doing when we get offended, when we take something personally and we react to that, we're giving our power away. We're letting somebody else pull the puppet strings of our reactions. We're letting somebody else poke at our mental and emotional energy and charge it off in a different direction. We will take offense because we've been insulted or someone says something rude, or we'll be offended on somebody else's behalf, right? It may not even be directed at us, but we're going to be offended for somebody, or we don't like somebody's opinions and we disagree with them. our state of offense, right? We are personally affronted by somebody who isn't aligned with us. And when we give in to that energy, we're giving them our power. We're literally giving them our energy. And I want you to think about this, right? When you're in that state of being offended, how dare they? How dare they? It takes a ton of energy. Have you ever given someone the silent treatment? You have to have, right? Haven't we all done that? That's like a thing we do, right? I've done that. If you've given someone the silent treatment, holy cow, that takes a lot of energy. Because the silent treatment is what? The silent treatment is consciously staying mad and consciously choosing not to engage with another person. It's a whole lot of power that you just gave to that other person to drain your energy to that extent. So the thing to consider when you're at that place where you're sparked with the being offended, oh, I can't believe they said that. Does it really matter? The question to ask yourself is, does this matter? Does it matter? And does my being offended change the other person? Does it impact the world in any way that's meaningful? What is the result of my being offended other than the draining of my energy, the redirection of my energy to spinning this ball of venom instead of moving myself, staying focused and moving myself forward and upward? So I don't mean that we don't get righteously angry at things. Of course we do, and we should. But we save it for what matters, and we save it for where we can make an impact. For the jerk who made the nasty comment on Facebook, or who said you looked fat in that bathing suit on Instagram, or who has a different political opinion than you, who cares? Who cares? In fact, have a little empathy in a moment for how small is that person's world. What is going on in that person's life that they have to spin the energy and the venom to say something meaningless and negative about you or to you for them to feel good? You do not need to sink into that energy with them. It will drain you. Do not give you that energy to them. You are better than that. So if you're going to be offended, pick wisely where you want to spend that energy, and spend it on things where you can actually make a difference. Other people's opinions, overall, generally don't matter. And that leads us to point number 3, pattern that we fall into. Oh, we fall into this one easy. Comparing yourself to someone else. Keeping up with the Joneses. This is where we let other people's opinions and other people's values override our own. And that's what gets dangerous. It's not even people pleasing. It's like, it's not, I was going to say it's almost people pleasing, but it's not even people pleasing. It's basically saying their values, their opinions, their judgment of what's good or great is more important than mine. When we compare ourselves to other people, we always lose. We always lose. That's how our brain is wired. Our brain is wired to find the scary and the negative. That's what saved us in caveman days. Our ability to scan an environment and pick up on the negative it's a life-saving skill that we don't need nearly as much now as we did 10,000 years ago. But the result is that because our brain is wired to find the risk, to find the negative, we fall into that pattern of victimhood of, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. Look at all the dangerous things around me. I've got to go hide. We fall into that pattern of, I'm going to be offended because this person's pushing at me, and that's a risk. And we fall into this pattern of comparison. We fall into this, and I did this I was telling, I don't think it was you guys last week on Training Tuesday. I think it was a different group that I was coaching. And I was telling them about the fact that I fell into this pattern myself just a few weeks ago. Maybe it was a little over a month ago. And it was ridiculous, but I fell into it. My own coach was talking about a purse she bought, a very, very expensive purse. But she was very excited about it, and she was talking about how she bought it and what it meant to her. And my initial thought was, I got to get me one of those. I got to get me one of those purses. Now, here's the thing. I'm aware of the brand of purse she bought and what they look like. And they're not at all my style or sensibility. They're just not. They are completely hers. They are that particular brand of purse is completely aligned. The way it looks, the style of it, completely aligned with who she is. It's not aligned to me. But my first reaction was for me to be as powerful a coach, as good a coach, as I don't know, high in status as my own coach. I got to go get me one of those purses. And I literally had to stare at that and go, what would I do? I would drop a ton of money on this purse that I will never use. I'd probably never even take the tags off it, honestly. And then what? I'd sell it on eBay for half the price. Right? Waste of time, waste of energy. And how does having that purse make me equal to her in any way? We're different people. It doesn't make sense. And yet that is where our heads go. It is a conscious and intentional effort to remind ourselves that everyone is different. Everyone is entitled to want what they want, to like what they like, to hold something of value, right? Some people love sports cars. Some people love trucks. Some people love the color red. Some people hate it and they find it very anxiety ridden. Everyone is entitled to that. But just because you have the same thing or something of equal value doesn't mean you're equals. We get warped around this showcase of I should have the same title. I should have the same job. I've been in this career path longer. How come she ranks higher than me? We get into this comparison mode around paths that are not the same. They're not the same. You don't have to be the same weight. You don't have to have the same opinions. You don't have to go to the same restaurant. You don't have to make the same amount of money to be good enough. Because good enough for whom? So what if you're good enough for the Joneses? Do the Joneses even care if you're good enough for them? They're too busy being the Joneses. They don't care. So number 3 is comparison. When our brains fall back in this pattern of comparison mode, we send ourselves down a rabbit hole where we're trying to catch up and get ahead. We're trying to move forward and upward, but we're not moving forward and upward towards our goals. We're scrambling to grasp to somebody else's values, somebody else's goals. All right, number 4, the 4th pattern that we can fall into. And I'd love to hear in the chat. You guys are quiet in the chat tonight. Any of these sounding familiar in terms of patterns that you've caught yourself in terms of thought processes that you've seen yourself in? And I've got 2 more to cover tonight. This one, and I'm sorry, I'm stuffed up from my allergies. The allergies are killing me this year. The 4th pattern, I like this one a lot. And this one, I actually, I'm going to give you an example that I got from Rachel Hollis. Rachel Hollis is another coach. She has, I think, a podcast, and she's out there quite a bit. But I really love the way she framed this. And I think it's a really good one because it is a pattern that, again, we fall into without recognizing that it's a pattern or that it's a thought process that we've rationalized ourselves into. And that is quitting. Now, I know a lot of you are like, I don't quit, which is true. Some of you stay in those jobs you hate way too long. You stay in relationships that aren't working for you way too long. So I'm actually talking about a different way this pattern shows up. We quit when we're in the messy middle. We quit when we've been working towards a goal, a big, hairy, audacious goal, right? A BHAG. We're working towards a BHAG. And we're at that place where it's become a grind. And usually in the grind, usually in that middle in the grind, that's where nobody's watching. That's where it feels like there's no reward. And the example that Rachel Hollis used that I love was she used an example about racing and running. And I love this example because I'm a runner. Now, Rachel Hollis was talking about this in terms of a marathon. I don't run marathons. I run half marathons. So I'm going to use the half marathon example. I'm going to take her example, but I'm going to turn it to my own half marathon example because this is why I could relate to it. So if any of you run, you can relate to this. But even if you don't run, hopefully this will make sense to you. And I'll use a couple other examples. But when I'm running a half marathon, it's 13.1 miles. Here's what I know. I regularly run a 5K. I know I can do a 5K. I know I can do a 10K. It's double the 5K. I can train for that. I can do that. I know, because I've done it before, that I can do a half marathon. But if you've run any distance, if you're any kind of distance runner, you also know that in any race, there's a part where it's not fun anymore. When I run a half marathon, somewhere between mile 8 and 10 is where I hit a wall. And this is consistent. I've run, I don't know, 6, 7 half marathons at this point. Consistently, somewhere between mile 8 and 10, I hit the wall where I am looking around for the golf cart that comes by and picks up the injured people and takes them to the first aid tent. I'm looking for that golf cart because, like, as soon as I see that, I am faking a limp and I'm getting in the golf cart, because the first 3 miles or so of a half marathon, there are people cheering you on. Yay! By the time you get to mile 6 or 7, you've passed the water station, and there's just signs with arrows pointing you around the course. There's no people. The people don't show up again until you hit like mile 10, 11, right? Until you're in the last 2, maybe 3 miles of the race, you don't see people again. So somewhere between mile 8 and 11 is the grind, where you're just running. And this is the part of the course where your legs hurt, right? Your legs hurt, your legs are screaming for a rest. Your brain is going, what were you thinking signing up for this? This is always the part of the course for me where there is no shade. It's become late enough in the morning that the sun is beating down on you. There is no shade. And if you do have shade, you're on a hill. It's the grind. It is literally where I promise you, every race I've done this, I have started looking around for that golf cart, hoping somebody's going to come scoop me up. And I can fake a limp, and I can just get driven to the first aid tent. We quit in the messy middle because that's when it's hard. That's when no one is watching. That's when we're not feeling the results of our efforts, but boy, are we feeling the effort. So for any of you who have, and I've been on this journey too, we start a new health routine. We diet. What do we do when we diet? The first month you're losing like 8 or 9 pounds and it feels amazing and your new routine feels good. The second month, you lose 7 or 8 pounds, still amazing. Month 3, maybe 5 pounds. Month 4, 4 pounds. Month 5, have you lost anything? You're in the middle. You've hit that plateau, you think, but you're in the middle where you are making serious changes to your lifestyle, but because you're not seeing the gratification of results like you were 3 months ago, you're like, well, screw it, I'm not losing weight anymore. Why'd I give up the ice cream? That's dumb. We give up in the grind where it gets hard because we feel deflated. We don't feel like we have the support anymore. There's nobody there really cheering us on when we're in the hard part. It happens at work. We get involved in a project, and the project's exciting at first, and then you get to the tough parts of the project where you have to navigate the politics and you've got to grind through some of the actual work. And it's like, well, this isn't fun. I don't really want to do this project anymore. This is why projects get derailed at work. This is why initiatives start but don't get finished. You can blame it on corporate politics. You can blame it on bad leadership. But don't you be that bad leader. We have to grind through some of that messy middle to get to the end result. Because if we don't, we never get to those long-term goals. We never see the benefit of the Gatorade and the medal and the free banana, because everybody wants the damn banana at the end of a race. We don't see that, yeah, okay, so we lost 12 pounds in the first 3 months, but if I'd stuck with it 9 months, I'd have doubled my weight loss. Right? We don't build that healthier habit. We don't accomplish that long sought after goal if we don't recognize when we're in the grind, when we're in that messy middle, and remembering we have to just keep pushing through. There is an end result and we will see it, but right now we've got to put in the work. And you know it's the right thing to do, but we get frustrated, we get bored, we get disenchanted. And when we get disenchanted, what do? We rationalize, I didn't really want this in the first place. I don't really want to do this. I don't have to do this. I don't need this after all. I do it on that run, mile 9. I don't really need another medal. I have medals already. Who cares about the damn banana? I'll go to the grocery store and buy my own. We rationalize not finishing. Yeah, Sue, the messy middle. It's hard. It's hard because the messy middle is when our brain goes into rationalization mode and tells us all the other ways we can get out of it and that we should. And I'm going to ask you to be conscious, right? To raise your awareness when you're in that moment so that you can look at that and recognize, I'm just in the hard part right now. It will get better. I have to keep going. I have to keep going. All right. Pattern number 5. Pattern number 5 in all of this is a big one. I think this can be one of the easiest ones to recognize because it's a voice that we know. 5 is when we let our fear drive. 5th pattern we fall into is when our fear makes the decision for us. When we focus on the fear, when we focus on the fear, we create the environment in which that fear lives. We generate it. So I want you to think about it this way. You're approaching a job search and your thought is, what if I can't find a job that pays as well as I get paid now? What happens then? That's very different energy than going into a job search with the thought of, what if I find something amazing that takes my career to the next level? Right? It impacts the way you approach how you look for jobs, how you interview for jobs, which jobs you apply for. What if your focus is on, what if they get upset with me? What if they tell me I did it wrong or I get fired? Instead of, what if I do something amazing and really impact this business? Very different energy to approach how you go about making choices at work. What's the difference when you focus on, I do not want to be old and alone. I don't want to be alone. Instead of, I want an amazing relationship. Those two thoughts approach people very differently. So sometimes when the thought is, I don't want, what if, oh my gosh, it comes from that place of lack, of scarcity, of fear. It's driving then the energy you show up with, it's driving the thoughts that you're bringing to the table, and it's driving the choices you make. And let's remember, our thoughts create our emotion. Our thoughts and emotion combined create our actions. Those are the two triggers that help us make the decision of the action we're going to take. If I am feeling afraid and my emotion is anxiety, I'm going to make a different choice than if I'm feeling excited and my emotion is positivity and joy or adventure. I'm going to make different decisions. We don't even realize it half the time because I hear this all the time when I'm working with some of you ladies, right? I can't quit my job. I've only been there 3 months. Well, if your boss is terrible or the job is terrible, then you can't quit your job. I can't ask them for more money, otherwise they won't want to hire me. I can't tell him I don't want to go to any more baseball games. He'll just say we have nothing in common and then he'll dump me. In all of those scenarios, you are giving up a piece of you. You're giving up your power. You're giving up what you want in your life, what you want to build and what you want to create on the hope that it will satisfy someone else. Because you don't even know. You don't know that an employer is going to care that you were only at your last job 3 months. You actually don't know. You don't know that this company won't pay you more money if you ask for it. This is why we negotiate. I have never in my entire 30-something year career in corporate ever heard of a company reneging on a job offer because the candidate came back and said, I appreciate your offer, but I'd like $5,000 more. Nobody's ever said, oh no, you can't have the job. They might come back and say, sorry, we can't go higher, or hey, we'll give you 2, or okay. But they never come back and say, no, you can't have the job after all because you asked for more money. That doesn't happen. And if somebody is going to dump you because you don't want to go to a baseball game with them, is that really the relationship for you? Do you see? You give up your power, you give up your options, you give up the life you want to create for you when you let fear drive. So we've got victimhood, we've got getting offended, we've got comparison mode, quitting, and fear. Those are the 5 patterns I see the most common that we just kind of fall into. When something impacts us or something stresses us out, we just kind of back into that. If we can raise our awareness around these 5 patterns, breaking free of this is instrumental in helping us move our careers forward and upward. This is how we excel. This is how we take control of our own career path. Because you can sit back and say, well, if I play nice and if I play politics and if I do all of these things, other people will like me and then these things are more likely to happen. You can say that, but you've just given the entire universe control over your life and your career, and you're just there floating along with whatever it gives you, as opposed to taking control and saying, this is what I want my life to look like, so this is what I'm going to go get. You are absolutely right, Joyce. If there are 2 wolves inside us, the one who wins is the one you feed. Who are you feeding? Who are you feeding? I love that. I love that analogy. I've seen that one around. So I'm saying by avoiding victimhood, by avoiding taking offense to everything, taking it personally, resisting comparison, pushing through the challenges, the messy middle when it gets hard, and embracing your courage over fear, because courage doesn't mean we don't have fear. It means we move forward with the fear. We can be stronger, we can be more powerful, and most importantly, we then own. We are accountable and responsible for building the career we want and building the life we want. Now, if you guys are struggling with any of these, as you know, I'm always here for a coffee chat. Just drop the word coffee chat in the comments, and we will schedule a free 15-minute coaching call where we will just focus on if it's one of those 5 habits in particular you want to work on, or you just need a path for raising your awareness and how you can move forward through these patterns. Love talking about that. This is the stuff I love, and this is the key. This stuff is the mindset, and it's the key to how we accelerate our careers. So drop the word coffee chat in the comments, whether you're watching this live or in replay, and I will reach out to you and we will schedule that free call. Otherwise, my friends, thank you for joining me for Training Tuesday tonight. As always, a pleasure to see you, and I will see you guys again later this week. Have a good evening from Connecticut.